Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today our mission is pretty focused. We're really looking to dismantle storytelling right down to its basic building blocks.
Yeah, we've got this source material here that's, well, it's less about creative flair and much more like a technical manual, a step-by-step guide for putting together a simple but really compelling narrative.
Exactly. It's a structural blueprint, and it's aimed specifically at what's sometimes called C-level writing.
Right. C-level simplified English education. It's all about foundational structure. The goal isn't like beautiful prose. It's about making sure the core message gets across clearly, effortlessly.
So we're pulling out the essential bits from the title right through to the moral at the end. We want to understand the sort of physics of simplicity, I guess. We're using a classic example, The Shepherd Boy and the Wolf.
And this isn't just for fables.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
If you can get this kind of clarity in a simple story, you can use that same structure to, say, clarify a complex business idea or make sense of some tricky news story. It's really versatile.
It really is. It's all about structural constraint. Every rule in this material, it's designed to just eliminate any confusion. It really forces the writer to be disciplined.
Okay, let's unpack this then. They kick off with the absolute must-dos, the rules that kind of set up the whole narrative agreement. Rule 1, and this really sets the stage, title first.
Always begin with a meaningful and catchy title. That's the instruction.
Right.
And the title, it's like the contract, isn't it, before the story even starts. By making you do the title first, the source makes the writer lock down the theme, the central conflict, stops the story just wandering off.
Good point.
Yeah, if your story's about, a lion kid and a wolf, your title has to somehow capture that and hook the reader right away.
Makes sense. And once you've got that title locked in, structure is everything. The next step is you must follow the outline, expand each point, no winging it outside that skeleton.
And that's a huge insight for anyone drowning in information today, right? When clarity is the goal, going off on tangents is just unhelpful.
Right.
This rule makes sure every single sentence serves one of those main outline points. It forces a lean, really purposeful structure.
And the rules for the language itself are just as rigid. They say you have to use simple past tense. And the reason given is pretty straightforward. Most stories are told in the past.
Seems obvious, maybe?
Yeah, but what does that specific rule actually do for the structure?
Well, it creates this necessary distance. When a story is only in the past tense, the reader just focuses on the sequence of events. Action, consequence, next action. That's it.
Yeah.
It stops the reader getting tangled up in the writer's real-time thoughts or mixed tenses. That's where things get confusing, especially in complex stuff. It just stabilizes the whole narrative flow.
And that stability, it goes right down to how you build sentences. If you want absolute clarity, the instruction is specific, make sentences short and clear, and actively avoid those long, rambling structures.
Definitely. And you can see how relevant that is outside of fiction. Think about your average technical memo or a breaking news alert. If the sentences drag on, the link between cause and effect gets lost.
Yeah, you lose track.
Exactly. So this rule, short, clear sentences, it's basically about managing cognitive load, making sure it's processed immediately. It's teaching you to write how people actually read now, scanning, even when the subject is an old fable.
But okay, if we just write short, clear, past tense sentences following an outline, doesn't that risk sounding a bit, robotic, choppy?
It definitely could, which is why you need the glue. And the source gives us a specific list of connectors, the ones you must use for smooth transitions.
The connectors. So they list once, then suddenly after that, and finally.
Those are the workhorses, yeah.
Yeah.
The absolute core of simple narrative flow. If you just read that list out loud once, then suddenly it immediately sounds like you're telling a kid's story.
Yeah, it does.
They're totally predictable, but that's their strength. Then tells you what's next. Suddenly flags a problem or the climax. Finally signals the end. They're like mandated road signs, guiding the reader, managing their pace and what they expect to happen next.
Okay, so we've got the language rules sorted, the grammar, the flow, the connectors. But clear sentences don't mean much without something compelling happening, right?
Exactly. Which leads us to the heart of it. Moving from just mechanics to the actual story. Develop characters and events.
And this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's a warning, too. It says, don't just copy the outline, add small details.
Yes. This is the crucial bit, the creative tension within this very structured approach. The whole point of the C-level structure is that it works. It's useful. But for it to work, People have to actually engage with it. You need those details. Details give the story weight. Justification.
Right. Let's look at the skeleton they provide for the boy who cried wolf. It's incredibly basic, just bullet points, essentially. A shepherd boy looked after sheep board, shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" Villagers came. No wolf laughed at them.
Classic.
Repeated many times. One day, real wolf came, cried for help. Villagers didn't believe wolf killed many. Sheep boy cried useless. That's it, super sparse.
That's the sequence, yep. But the story only really lands if we understand why the boy does it and why the villagers react like they do. So the narrative adds detail. It specifies the boy was very bored with his work.
Ah, okay. That little detail.
That small addition changes the action from just random naughtiness into something relatable, maybe. A reaction to boredom, to drudgery.
And when he shouts wolf, the source material says he did it just for fun.
Yeah.
Another small detail setting up the motivation.
Exactly. And crucially, when the villagers react, they don't just come. The narrative adds that they came running with sticks to help him.
Oh, that's good. With sticks, that adds a visual.
It's vital. It's not just that they showed up, it's the wasted effort, the running, the sticks, implying readiness to fight that justifies why they get so angry later.
Right, because they really bought into it.
Yeah.
With the effort.
Yes, that detail sets up the emotional structure. Because they put in that energy, running with sticks, their reaction isn't just mild irritation, it's proper anger. The story says they became angry and stopped believing him. Developing that specific emotional arc from willing helpers to angry and distressful, that's the groundwork needed for the tragic ending.
It makes that final moment hit harder, doesn't it? The real wolf comes, he cries out.
And nobody came this time.
Yeah. The sheep die not just because a wolf showed up, but because of the boy's track record, which we've seen built up through these details.
Exactly. The development of the characters, even in this really simple way, turns that plot point villagers didn't believe into a powerful earned consequence. Every piece of this structure is designed to maximize that cause and effect, making sure the lesson hits home.
Which brings us right to the final required piece, the anchor that turns it from just a sad story into, well, a functional teaching tool.
The moral.
The moral. The last instruction is absolute. End with a moral. And it has to be a short and clear lesson.
This rule is maybe the most defining thing about a fable structure, isn't it? The moral acts like the ultimate constraint that shapes the whole writing process.
How so?
Well, it means every decision the writer made, setting the scene with the boy being bored, the repeated trick, that detail about the villagers running with sticks, all of it has to serve the delivery of that one final lesson.
Ah, okay. So you write towards the moral.
Pretty much. Without that required moral, the story is just a sequence of unfortunate events. Add the moral, and suddenly the events become a warning, a lesson learned. It provides the so what. You absolutely can't skip it in this structure.
But doesn't that feel a bit limiting? You know, this strict structure, the mandatory simple moral, does it kill creativity? Does it stop stories reflecting how complex life really is?
That's the trade-off, definitely. And it's why this structure is so effective for teaching basic concepts or ensuring a message sticks. It sacrifices nuance, maybe, for immediate usefulness and memorability.
And the moral given for this story is the perfect example of that directness. Nobody believes a liar, even when he speaks the truth. Bam. Simple. Clear.
Distilled right down. Pure utility. And if you think about connecting this to, say, broader communication, that moral provides absolute thematic unity.
Okay.
Imagine you were writing a complex policy paper, and you forced yourself to have a moral at the end, something like, transparency prevents costly misunderstandings. That constraint would force you to shape every single part of that paper to lead unavoidably to that conclusion. It brings focus.
Interesting way to think about it. So, what does this all mean for you, listening?
Yeah.
You've now basically got the blueprint for a powerful, simple story structure, one designed for absolute clarity and making sure people remember it.
Yeah, you know the key bits now. Start with a catchy title, that's your contract. Use simple past tense. Use clear, predictable connectors like then, and finally, to keep the flow tight.
And crucially, develop those key moments. Add specific details that make the characters' feelings and actions make sense. Don't just state what happened, show why it mattered.
And absolutely, non-negotiably, wrap it all up with a short, clear moral. The power of this whole approach is its simplicity. Maximum impact, minimum clutter.
Right. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. You now understand the nuts and bolts of arguably the simplest, most effective narrative format we have. So, think about this. How often do you encounter complex, real-world information news, work documents, marketing stuff that actually manages to follow even half of these rules for clarity and structure?
Good question. Reality rarely gives us those neat, simple morals, does it?
No, it doesn't. But if the goal of communication is getting people to understand, remember, and maybe even act, are the stories that really stick with us, the ones that change behavior, maybe always the ones like these fables, the ones where the structure makes the lesson, the moral, absolutely, undeniably clear.
Something to consider next time you need to write something important, something that really needs to land.